If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed when choosing paint colors, you are not alone. With thousands of shades, undertones, and finishes to choose from, it can feel impossible to make the right decision. But today, I'm breaking it all down for you, from creating a cohesive color palette to selecting the perfect shades for individual rooms. By the end of this video, you'll never doubt yourself again when choosing colors, because you are about to become a paint pro. Okay, let's start things off by setting a solid foundation. Instead of picking random colors room by room, you want to build a paint palette that flows seamlessly throughout your home. We experience our spaces in our home collectively. Therefore, creating a cohesive color story is really important. So here's my rule of thumb when it comes to whole home color palettes. Stick to 3 or 4 colors that will serve as your main foundation, and then choose 4 to 6 accent colors to bring in depth and personality. The homes that feel truly considered, the ones that have the elevated interiors we all crave, often have a wider variety of paint colors. Now, this doesn't mean every room needs to be a different color, but by layering a variety of colors on your walls, ceiling, and trim, it can make a really huge impact. Using the same white everywhere can feel flat, but a thoughtful palette adds depth, uniqueness, and character to your home. Now, let's walk step by step through the process of creating a cohesive paint palette. I'm covering a technique in a few minutes that you might not have ever heard of before, so be sure to pay attention. But before we dive in, I want to give you a little sneak peek of something I've been working on just for you. My brand new interior design masterclass is coming up, where I'll take you step by step through the entire design process and teach you how to design, furnish, and decorate your home from start to finish. If you've always wanted a beautifully designed home but had no idea where to start, you've got to join me in the course. You can sign up at the link below this video to get on the wait list, and I can't wait to see you inside the course. All right, let's get on to creating our cohesive paint palettes. The first way to do this is to start with inspiration and look at the materials or accents in your home that you already love. Maybe it's a beautiful vintage rug, your marble countertops, an upholstery fabric, or a piece of art. These elements are the perfect jumping off point for selecting your paint palette because they help you visualize color combinations and get a real feel for what you're already drawn to. For example, say your favorite thing in your kitchen is your dramatic marble countertops. A great way to choose paint colors for your kitchen and the adjacent spaces is to pull colors directly from the marble and use various tonal ranges to achieve the feel you're looking for. The key is to make sure that everything flows together, and by using materials as a starting point, you can build out your color stories in an intentional and cohesive way, just the way a designer would approach it. And another quick pro tip here is, if you're building out a whole home color palette, my recommendation is to start by choosing the paint colors for your kitchen first. Our kitchens are the heart of the home, and it has a huge influence on the styles and details of the rest of your room. So by choosing the materials and colors for your kitchen first, it becomes so much easier to pick out coordinating colors for the other spaces in your home. Okay, now let's talk about understanding undertones. Every paint color has an undertone, which is the subtle color underneath that affects how the paint looks. Some colors have warm undertones like yellows, reds, or oranges, while others have cool undertones like blues, greens, or purples. To figure out the undertone of a paint, hold it up next to a white piece of paper. If the paint looks more yellow, beige, or even a little peachy, next to the white, it has a warm undertone. If it looks a bit blue, green, or gray, it has cool undertones. Knowing this is important because if you mix cool and warm undertones without thinking about it, your colors can start to feel mismatched. My rule is to stick to paint colors that have either all warm undertones or all cool undertones to create harmony. By doing this, you'll make sure that everything flows together cohesively. Next up, and this is one you might not have heard of before, I want you to consider using the 60-30-10 rule. This is a classic design principle I always rely on when balancing colors in a space, and it's one of those tricks that really makes everything feel put together and intentional. The idea is, when breaking your colors down into 3 distinct parts, you have 60% of the space as your dominant color, that's usually on the walls, and it sets the overall tone for the room. Then you bring in your 30% secondary color, which is often on the ceiling. The ceiling should complement the walls, but provide just enough contrast and add some depth. Finally, your 10% accent color goes on your trim and your doors, and this is where you can really add some interest to your spaces. You can go with a slightly deeper shade than your walls or introduce a bold contrast for definition and to add architectural interest. The beauty of the 60-30-10 rule is that it provides a bit of structure for your paint choices. And if you follow this formula, you can create a palette that feels balanced and layered, and it just takes some of the thought out of the process. Okay, let's go over an example of this. Picture a cozy living room with soft taupe walls for the 60%, a creamy ivory ceiling for the 30%, and warm walnut trim for the 10%. This combination feels intentional, sophisticated, and is a perfect balance of color. And this principle works just as well in moody, dark spaces as it does in lighter, more neutral ones. In fact, when you're working with deep, rich colors, it's a great idea to follow this rule to prevent the room feeling heavy or overwhelming. In a moody space, your 60% dominant color, usually on the walls, might be a rich burgundy, a deep navy, or even a dark green. These colors create drama and a sense of intimacy in a room, but they can easily overpower a space if they're not paired with the right accent. That's where your 30% secondary color comes in. For the ceiling, you might choose a lighter, softer shade, like maybe a lighter version of the wall color to add some contrast but keep the space from feeling too enclosed. It provides a nice break from the heaviness of the walls but still complements the overall mood. Then your 10% accent color is key to adding some definition. For a moody room, go with a color that provides contrast but still feels rich and grounded, like a dark wood trim or even a deeper shade of the wall color. This keeps the space from feeling flat and adds a little depth and interest. Now, on to one of the most important aspects of making great paint choices that actually has nothing to do with what you'll find inside of a paint can, and that, my friend, is lighting conditions. One of the biggest mistakes people make when choosing paint colors is not testing it in different lighting conditions. It may sound simple, but lighting plays a huge role in how paint colors actually look in your space. Both natural light and artificial light can dramatically change the way a color appears. A color that looks perfect in the store under the bright, controlled lighting might look completely different once it's on your walls, especially when you see it in the warm glow of the afternoon sun or the cooler tones of the light at night. That's why it's so important to test your paints in the room where they will actually be used. So take the time to try out a few test patches on your walls and observe them at different times of the day before making a final decision. This way you'll know that the paint you choose looks precisely how you envisioned it in the space, no matter the time of day or the lighting conditions. Now, here's a little lighting conditions tutorial to help you choose your paints based on the natural light in your home. In north-facing rooms, the light is cooler and can make colors appear slightly blue or gray. So choose warm, soft hues to balance out the cool light. South-facing rooms get a ton of warm, natural light, so colors can appear brighter. Cooler tones can help counteract this and keep things balanced. In east-facing rooms, morning light is bright, but evening light can feel cooler and more muted. So be mindful of how you choose your colors and look at your options as the light shifts throughout the day. And in west-facing rooms, it's the opposite. Mornings are cool and afternoons get rich golden light. So test your colors in both conditions to see how they change. I can't stress this enough. Always sample your paint options on multiple walls in your room and observe them throughout the day before making your final decision. This is a non-negotiable step for choosing paints like a pro. Now, I know not everyone can completely overhaul all the paint colors in their home at once, myself included. But if you want to give your space a little refresh and still keep some of your existing paint colors, my suggestion is to focus on the little details that make the big impact. The first way to do this is to update your trim and door color. If your walls are staying the same, one of the easiest ways to make a dramatic change is by updating your trim color. A fresh coat of paint in a rich, muddy taupe or a deep olive on your trim can instantly refresh your room. It's a simple update that adds a high-end designer feel. Next, consider painting your white ceilings. Adding color to your ceilings is a subtle yet powerful way to transform a room. Instead of the usual white, try painting your ceiling a soft, muted shade that complements your wall colors. This makes a room feel more curated and intentional rather than just basic. It's a simple change that gives a space a completely different feel. Another idea for adding a bit of interest without a full paint overhaul is to repaint a key focal point. If you have built-ins, a fireplace mantle, or a kitchen island that feels a little tired, repainting them in a new accent color can really shift the energy of a room. Focusing on repainting a focal point can give the room an entirely new look. It's a quick update that makes a big difference. The last thing to consider is layering in paint variations. If you've been living with the same white walls throughout your home, it's time to bring in some variation. Introduce a deeper, richer tone in certain spaces will add warmth and personality. Even small shifts like a soft grayish in the bedroom or a deep olive in your dining room can make the space feel more inviting and give each room its own character. All right, don't forget, if you want to dive deeper into the design process, my online design course is launching soon, so make sure to sign up for the waitlist using the link below the description. And if you want a comprehensive guide to all the paint tips we covered in this video, be sure to download my paint guide, which I've linked below as well. Now, let me know in the comments what's your biggest struggle when it comes to choosing paint, because I'd love to answer your questions in my design course. And if you're filling up your design cup and want more of my pro tips on some of the very best luxury design ideas for your home, I want you to watch this video next.